This morning I realised that I had put a self-imposed limit on myself. I'd So for the first time I worked out and I had rest timers. So I had a specific time that I had to rest before I started, and I had to start the next exercise after that. And usually my workouts would drag on for quite a while, and I felt like I didn't have enough time to do all the things that I wanted. But after kind of falling off for a while, like skipping a few days, not being able to stick to it, and then kind of having it in the back of my mind, like, oh, could I be saving time doing this? Would it be more efficient? I tried it out this morning, and it was over in like an hour, and I'd done just as much, if not more, than I would normally do in an hour and a half to 2 hours. And it wasn't easy, like it was a lot harder, but having that kind of imposed limit and having that kind of thing, okay, I've got to do it now, it made me focus rather than, it kind of just daydream in between sets, just kind of not be focused at all, and just kind of mosey my way through it. It didn't mean I wasn't pushing myself hard in the sets, it just that I wasn't focused in between. And just having that time where it was just like, all right, this is my time to rest, so allow myself to rest in this time, and then afterwards I'm gonna get to work and do the next set when I have to. And also I found that my strength dipped, like I didn't have enough anaerobic capacity, which is basically, we have 3 different energy systems, and it's like the kind of high intensity kind of one that is used, I guess, in workouts mostly. And it's like when you do repeated efforts with not a lot of rest, and that's actually good for the body as well. Anyway, it's kind of rusty because I learned it at school, but that's what I remember about it. And it actually fatigued my muscles a lot faster, a lot quicker than usual. And it just made me realize, like, oh, I thought that my workouts were gonna have to be so long if I wanted to fit everything that I wanted in. And then it just made me kind of realize, like, oh, I've been holding myself back that time. If you're wondering about these weird glasses, I'm trying to go to bed earlier and focus a lot more on my sleep, and this is just a way to block out blue light and help your kind of mind wind down a lot better, because if you're having blue light stimulated into your eyes, then it kind of keeps you awake. It suppresses the production of melatonin, which helps you go to sleep. I found it sort of beneficial, but more it's just kind of the mindset of like, all right, this is just the time to settle down and go to bed. But then I realized, like, I hadn't done a video this week, and I wasn't going to have any more time to be able to do it, so here I am just trying to smash one out before I read. And another point that I want to make for the realization that I've had this week is that I've been trying to do too much, and that I was scattered everywhere, and I got excited by all these different things. I started off just keeping it workouts and keeping my meditation and stuff up, and then it became soccer, and then I was like, oh, I want to sprint faster, I want to be able to jump higher, I want to be more agile, I want to be more fitter, I want to be eating healthier, I want to be etc. etc. And I was adding so much onto my plate, and I have so little time, and I realized, like, oh, like I'm just in this constant fight or flight response, and this kind of seems like, it's like, oh, you should be like, you should just be able to push through that. And yes, there's strength in that, and it was good to push myself to see that I can do that, and to be able to have the capacity to be able to push yourself through those kind of situations, especially when you have to. But I didn't have to, and I was just cramming myself, making myself more stressed than I had to be, rather than actually just focusing on one thing and seeing results. Like, my strength in my workouts was plateauing. I wasn't able to keep up the high intensity soccer training that I was when I first started, because my energy kind of plummeted, and I had less time as well. And then also, I'd been doing a lot of stretching. I'd been doing an hour of stretching every day. And when I played indoor, last week, I took a shot, just like a normal shot. I'd done it so many times, and I just felt something twinge in my hip flexor, and I just could not kick the ball again. I tried kicking the ball, and it was like excruciating, and it's still kind of recovering now. And it just made me realize, like, I had been forcing this flexibility thing without having actually any strength in that kind of position, you know, like I'd been slacking on doing some sort of hip raises or L-sit, or like the reverse kind of ab thing where you tie your feet onto like a cable machine, which I got from the ATG Knees Over Toes guy, which was really good and beneficial. I love that exercise. But I hadn't been doing it, and it made me realize that flexibility, high levels of flexibility without strength is injury. Because if you're able to put yourself into those positions and then you go play a sport and your body's like, oh, we can go into this position, and then it tries to use that with force, it's going to hurt something, because your body's like, whoa, like there's force now where you were only stretching passively in this, or kind of like just tensing the muscles a little bit. And that's what caused the injury to my hip. It could have just been weakness, it could have just been I twinged it bad, it could have been I kicked the floor, shoes, whatever. But I'd been kicking before and I never had that before, but all of a sudden I'd pushed this flexibility, and then I played, you know, a sport, I played a game, and then that's when it hit. And so it made me really realize, like, oh, like, I can't go just following other people's plans. I've got to be very conscious about this myself. And I'd been a hypocrite just following these kind of things and trying to add all these things without thinking consciously of what I wanted and thinking consciously of what I was doing. And so I realized that, you know, soccer was this thing from the past that just keeps coming up, and for me it's associated with drive and just having clarity. Like whenever I say this all the time, whenever I have soccer in my life, it just becomes clarity. Like it's just like, oh, this is what I have to do. I know what I have to do, so I'm going to pursue it. And all of my life just becomes aligned. But it wasn't soccer. It wasn't the specific thing soccer. It's just having an understanding, knowing what something is, knowing what you have to do, and having that direction. For me, that just felt really amazing. And I realized, like, I can keep just cycling through these things, but the main reason why I got back onto this track was originally just to work out and to build muscle, be more functional, and start eating a lot better and focusing on that. And I realized, like, with my job and with trying to meditate and doing this Qigong course to try and learn it properly, you know, I can try doing all these things and adding soccer and all this stuff into it, but it's going to be too much. And I just kind of realized, like, I have to let that go, and that really sucks for me because my ego doesn't want to give it up. It doesn't want to say that I quit, because there's a part of me that's like, oh, we could still, if we give all, we could still see how far we could go, we could still be better. But the reality is that I'm not the best skilled at it. I've built myself up to be very good at it, but I'm not the best, and even if I trained really hard, I could get close to there. But I think what I found, what I loved, what I was good at was just my physical body being able to move well. Like when I was in Wollongong, I don't think I've said this, but we had these jumping tests, we had these running tests, and I had the best score out of everyone. I broke the records for that program, and maybe I'm just doing this to build up my own ego, to make myself feel better for allowing myself to quit soccer. That's a possibility as well. But you can see that I'm open to these ideas. I'm not saying like, oh, soccer's no good, that's no good. You know, that's kind of like this teenage mentality where like you like this girl and then all of a sudden she doesn't show you any interest or something like that, or she turns you down, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that girl's like a hoe. I was doing her a favor, you know. It's like, no, she just said no, it has nothing to do with her value or whatever. That's nothing to do with my value coming back to soccer. It doesn't have anything to do with my value and soccer. It's just that, what do I want to do with my life? What do I have the time for? And you know, what do I want my future to be? Like, do I want to invest that much time to get a possibility of that? Maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not. But I was just thinking that with the work that I want to do, with the impact that I want to have, with how my brain works, with how I want to live my life, it doesn't really align with that fully. And as I said, it kind of sucks for me to say that I want to let go of it, but I think it's for the best. So I refocused back to just soccer and trying to get my diet right, just trying to get that locked in, because I was seeing good progress in it, and then I added stuff into it and it kind of stagnated a little bit. And it just goes to show that if you just focus on one thing and then put most of your effort into that, then you're going to see results in it, rather than trying to do too much or trying to, you know, be too fancy or cool about it or whatever. And I also realized, going back to kind of like that fight and flight thing, just trying to push through, that we do have to have time to rest. And I get really bad at that. I either am doing completely nothing for a set period of time, or I'm doing way too much. You know, like I need to kind of have this balance where it's like, all right, you do this, you get these things done at this time, and then kind of wind down, relax, do something that you enjoy. Like I really love reading, but I hadn't had enough time to do reading. I was trying to do too much. I was like, oh, I've got to do 1 hour of stretching, so I can't read, because then I've got to cook my food, and then I've got to take a shower, and then I've got to go to bed, and then, you know, to wake up for the next day. But just having that half an hour of just reading and getting lost in a book is like one of my favorite parts of the day. It makes me look forward to it a little bit more. And, you know, sometimes I can get a bit self-masochistic. I think some people can, especially with this self-help, kind of trying to improve yourself, these ideas that we get given, that we're kind of programmed to get given, and that we believe are important. Maybe because we feel unworthy, because we feel like, you know, we're not good enough, or we're having seeing all these other people and these other standards, and we feel so far behind them that we feel like we've got to do so much to make up for it, you know. Whereas realizing, like, you know, we're all on our different kind of paths or journeys. This is sounding cliche now, but it kind of is true, you know, like you've just got to keep taking the next step forward and just keep going, you know, don't look back. Do look back. Now I'm kind of getting lost in these kind of cliche things. What I'm saying is that there's a time to work and there's a time to rest. The rest can make your work time better, and it can also make you enjoy it a lot more. By narrowing your focus and having a simpler idea, by cutting off the fat, by having less things, it becomes easier to see results in the things that matter to you. I feel like I've rambled quite on along. I only wanted this to be short, but I hope that got the idea across. And you can see, I didn't really want to do this because I didn't want to admit that I had put aside soccer. I didn't want to put out my ideas, because this morning I was like, oh, I have a great idea for a video. And then I was just like about ready to go sit down and read. And then I was like, wait, I haven't done a video. And it's just kind of this kind of rule, I guess, this idea with myself, like, do I want to give up on this? And it's like, no, this is something that I want to commit to, because I see a benefit in it. I see a benefit in putting myself out there, becoming better at this, and becoming better at speaking as well. Like, there's not a lot of downsides to it. Like, it doesn't cost me much. It doesn't take much for me to do this video, but it can reach hundreds of people easily, which is a pretty amazing thing. So anyway, even though these videos aren't perfect, I'm going to try and keep at it and see how it goes, you know. It'll progress along with me along the journey, and it'll be cool to see back and, as I've said before, and see the journey and see the progress that I've made and that I've already made. I hope you heard that. Peace out.